Hi everyone, this is Seema Mehta from The Confident Communicator. Yet again in our series, The Imperfect Parenting. I'm here with my colleague and my friend of 35 years, Deepma Jadeja. It's so fun to work with somebody you've known for such a long time. And one of the things, a basic rule of our friendship is that that connection always has to be there. We have to always do things that matters. We always have to work towards empowering others, and that was the foundation of our company, The Confident Communicator. And today's topic is very pertinent to that effect and to that philosophy, right, Deepma? I mean, one of the reasons why we really love what we do is because we've known each other for so long, right?
Absolutely.
So, we were talking about what we want to discuss this time. And we said, hey, you know what? The festive season is coming up. Diwali is coming up. Everybody is very excited when Diwali comes up. What religion, what background you are, doesn't matter. Diwali just brings that joy and that smile on everybody's face. There are advertisements on TV that talk about gifting and the mithai and all the wonderful things, flowers blooming everywhere. And it's such a fun time of the year that we thought we will do something where we kind of connect the whole Diwali festivities with what we want to talk about. So here's one thing that happened to me last week. I was watching a TED show by a very favorite speaker of mine by the name of Adam Grant, who is an organizational psychologist. And in his TED talk, How to Stop Languishing and Start Finding Flow, he asks a very important question, and both Deepma and I have discussed this. Where do you find mastery and mindfulness with the people that matter the most? Now, as we move ourselves away from the malaise of being disconnected and the kind of stress and depression and sadness that the whole of last 18 months have gone through with the pandemic, we have to ask ourselves the question, what can we do to find the flow of doing something meaningful, right? And I love the one thing that Adam Grant says in his TED Talk, where he says, I learned that love is not the frequency of communication. It is the depth of connections. The antidote to languishing does not have to be something productive. It can be something joyful. Our peak moments of flow are having fun with people we love, which is now a daily task on my to-do list. So we thought, since the upcoming festival is coming, let's talk about all these fun festivals, fun traditions that we as friends, families, teams in companies can do or follow, so that we can make this more like a daily to-do list rather than an annual one, which, whenever Diwali comes is when we will do festivals, right? So the first question I want to, pose to Deepma right now, and, you can tell us your view on this, is that does tradition only mean festivals? And how do we, define traditions for our family? Like, what do you do when it comes to traditions?
I used to think, Seema, you're very right. And what Adam Grant said also is very right. Is, in the beginning, I used to think that festivals meant tradition, right? And so you do things as they have been done in the age-old days, and that is what is supposed to give meaning to your life and to your children's lives, and that's something that they carry on. And while I kind of still stand by that definition that yes, it is about festivals. It is about happy times in the family, be it Christmas, be it Eid, be it Diwali, be it Ganpati, whatever may be the festival. It's the happy times that all families come together and they have these common ways of doing things that are common only to their family. But I think we need to kind of broaden the definition a little bit now and say, why don't we make traditions that are celebratory? Right, where we celebrate our family's way of doing things. And that may be different from someone else's idea of fun. But I noticed that my children, as they grew up, were remembering those things more than the typical festival. I got a present, I got new clothes kind of things. Those were things that were very momentary. They were very happy with all the gifts that they would get under the Christmas tree, or they were very happy with, the new clothes that they get at Diwali. But that wasn't something that they remembered over the years. Right?
And why do you think they didn't remember? I mean, one one of the reasons why I think people don't remember a lot of that, and they do remember the clothes, they do remember waking up early, they do remember the mithai and the meeting of the relatives and all, but they don't seem to be remembering the joy behind it. And I think one of the reasons why this happens is sometimes we kind of dump the traditions on our children, on our family, for very good reasons, for very good reasons. I mean, not wrong reasons at all. However, what is missing is the connection part of it, right? So when Adam Grant is talking about mastery, mindfulness, and what matters to us the most, I think the last part, what matters to us the most, is the connection. And I like what you said about broadening the definition of tradition to something else. So let's get into it. What is it that we can broaden it to?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. I was thinking, okay, so what does it mean to broaden? And even within a festival itself, what does it mean to broaden? And I remember that as my children were growing up, as they started getting older and older, they were questioning, why is it that you're doing this a particular way? And I'm like, because Nani always did it, or because Dadi always did it, and I didn't have answers either. So there were times where Google proved very, very useful to me, where I'd go in and say, why do we follow a particular tradition, or why do we follow a particular ritual the way it is? And we kind of made that a part of our tradition, where each of us would kind of research why we were doing something a particular way, and then we'd share it with the rest of the family, so that all of us knew why we were doing it. But I think that took a little bit of courage, and it took me a little while to accept that I didn't know everything, and I wasn't the only one who was doing the teaching. Once I allowed my children to come out and teach me, I think the joy kind of multiplied, because they knew that Mama also doesn't know why. Let's figure it out. And then if we don't agree with the why, then we can drop that ritual, right? And we can kind of create another ritual for us. One interesting example is during Ganesh Chaturthi. We get the Ganpati in our house. And I know we have to make the laddu and the modak and the different types of prasad that Ganpati wants to eat. And my daughter, 1 year, I think she was 13 or 14, and she had just gotten into baking. And she said, why don't I make some cookies? And I'm like, oh, you cannot do cookies for, Ganpati, Ganpati Prasad.
She said, everybody likes cookies, yes.
Oh, you can't do that. And I was just all horrified. And then she asked me why. And I didn't have an answer. And I said, well, cookies have eggs in them and we have to make it vegetarian. And she said, no, I know how to make vegetarian cookies. I have a recipe on YouTube, some banana, walnut, something. And I didn't have anything to say to her. And that was the year where we decided that our Ganpati liked Western prasad. And so we started making Western prasad. I mean, we did the traditional laddu and modak thing, but then we also made custard, fruit custard.
Yeah. What a great idea. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I don't think traditions are meant to just kind of blindly do whatever was taught to you by your grandparents. You have to kind of evolve, and it's okay to include a bit of old and a bit of new and make it a new tradition, right?
Yeah.
So, when, there's a game that we play in our house, which is the conversation cards. And one of the questions, it's a product that, you, Deepa, and I have made. It's the conversation cards, which has a set of 100 really quirky questions. They are perfect for Diwali. They're perfect for families. They're perfect for trips. We had gone to a trip to Nasik and Bombay recently, and we had a lot of our family. We met over there, and we had such a blast with these cards. One of the questions that is asked in this is that what is the one family tradition or rule that you would like to change? That was one of the questions. And it just got my children and I talking, and one conversation came up, and my daughter said, what did you do do you remember any family tradition that you followed? And I think she meant some festivals, but the first thing that came to my mind was that every Sunday, my mom, dad, and I would pack a picnic basket. I remember there were these cold plums, cucumber chutney sandwiches. There was chai and grapes and, all kinds of fun things inside. And we used to sit on the beach because we lived in Bombay. So Juhu Beach, we used to sit on the beach. And it was an every Sunday ritual. And that's the first thing I remembered. And that's when I realized that traditions can be stretched to something that makes your family and you connect, right? It doesn't have to be a festival. It doesn't have to be just, okay, I'm going to do Diwali, I'm going to do Eid, I'm going to do Christmas, or whatever the other festivals are. Along with that, on a continuous basis, we can do that. The other
Yes.
thing that my family and I do every year is whenever it's anybody's birthday, did this with my parents, when it was somebody's birthday, we would go out for dinner. But now what we do is that we, even though the birthday person knows this, we decorate the entire room, balloons, decorations, everything. However old, now my children are much older, it doesn't matter. And then they get up in the morning and they know there's something waiting for them in the living room.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
excitement is so amazing. So that's a tradition that we have, and they'll probably grow up and talk to their children about this tradition. So I
Yes,
think
yes,
that like you said, expand the definition of tradition so that
yes,
it goes beyond just festivities. And
yes,
the most important thing that we need to do is to make those connections. And that connection is very, very critical, especially with the kind of stress, anxiety, and with mental health becoming such an important
yes.
topic. I think we have to work harder to create those traditions in our own homes, right?
Yeah, and conversations make connections, right? So
Absolutely.
that's such a great idea to
Yeah.
do this on, on your family trips and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that it gives, in today's day where mental health, like you were saying, mental health is so important. And with 2 years of online school and children feeling that sense of disconnect, if we have some traditions that kind of bring them together again, bring us, all of us together again, and create that sense of belonging, right? And that sense of connection where we are a family and this is how we do things. And it might be a little different from other people, but that's what makes us unique. And that shared connection, because children nowadays, all parents, right? All of our parents, all of our students' parents, everyone comes to us with, Deepma, Seema, they're all the time on the phone, they're all the time on the iPad, they're all the time. I don't I know that the children are preferring to be on the iPad and the phone, but why don't we give them something that gets them off of that with joy instead of with, you got to do this because this is the way it's done. So I
Yeah.
kind of
And
like you asking these questions of how can we do things differently so that they buy into it, right? Because that's our
exactly.
aim.
Exactly. I think that, you can define your own family's tradition. You can define
Yes,
your own
yes,
family's memories and connections without having to resort to, and of course, continue with the festivities. But they
yeah,
come only once a year. So
yeah,
let's
yeah,
do
yeah,
something that our children closely associate their family with, and
yeah,
gives them a sense of identity, a sense of security, a sense of support from each
yeah,
other by
yeah,
making those connections and those conversations. So I think that we certainly want to expand our horizon of what the definition of tradition is. And
yes,
going back to Adam Grant's conversation about how to stop languishing and starting to find that flow through mastery, mindfulness, and connecting with the people who matter the most.
yeah,
Let's start now talking about how we can redefine traditions and
yeah,
redefine connections and festivities within our own family. And we did
yeah,
something really fun before we actually went into this in this talk, is that we asked a bunch of women, more or less our age, who and asked them, do you remember any family traditions that you had as a child, and is something that you do in your own family? And we got some amazing responses. Many of those responses we will be posting in our on our Facebook page, so take a look at it. They're really fun. You can try them out for your own family. But just to quickly talk about a few that I really enjoyed, like there was a friend of mine who talked about how she her dad used to come back from work very tired, and then he used to play this record, the record players that used to have with a needle,
the gramophone thing.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
gramophone one, yeah. And they used
yeah.
to play some really good music. And she said, I still remember that music. I still remember that environment and that moment. I mean, she's my age, but those memories never go away. Then there are others who talked about how they would do stuff like, maybe Friday night pizza with a movie, or, just, helping each other make beds. So there was one friend who said, we have this ritual every Sunday where we go out for brunch, and one person in the family decides where we are going to
Yeah,
go out for a brunch, and we all have to go whether we like it or not. But and then we would have a conversation. One thing that I always do with my own family is that when we go on holidays and we take a lot of vacations, because we think that that's the best way to connect, is we always have a conversational topic where we talk about each other, not about ourselves as much as we talk about each other. And it's so interesting because we get different perspectives. What is my daughter thinking about me, or what am I thinking about my daughter or my husband or anybody in the family? And the perspectives are so amazingly different that that's when we become cohesive as a unit, right? So I think those are really fun traditions to do, and I think our viewers can for sure start, participating in creating their own traditions.
And when we posted this, why don't you all go ahead and put your favorite family tradition as a child, or your child's favorite in the comments section. One of mine is, and it's such a silly tradition. We used to have a family night Scrabble. And the reason, it's so strange, the reason that we continued Scrabble as a family was because it was very well known in the family that my English is better than all the other three's English. And yet, I always lost. I don't know why. I was so terrible at grammar. I mean, I was so terrible at Scrabble that I just wait. I think I'd wait for the best word and I would want the longest word, and it was never the one that gave the highest points, right? Correct. Sometimes a word like bat and cat would give these guys a better score. And there was a point when I had 100 points less than everyone else. And it was so sad. But that's what makes the children look back now and laugh and say, remember Saturday night, how we always made Mama lose? You know?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what we need to do, that love is not the frequency of communication. It is the depth of connections. And I think that with all that has happened to us in the last 18 months, let's do some things that are more meaningful, that make more connections, that make us all create stories that we can share with our kids and our grandchildren and our friends. And I think indulge in a lot of, gift giving. Any time of the year, like today, you and I were having this conversation about, hey, I want to send this very mindful gift to somebody. And I said, why don't you send them plants? Do a subscription of our plants and send them to, every month they will get a surprise, and it'll be so amazing for them to receive those. So let's do things that are more mindful, where people will remember us. They will look at it and say, hey, this is something that Deepma gave me or Seema gave me or whatever. So I think that's the whole idea of this. And I'd like to ask this question.
I just wanted to add one very quick thing which just popped into my head. Seema, both of us would meet every single day or at least 3 or 4 times a week when, for the Confident Communicator, and to plan our work and to plan our business and everything. And then the pandemic hit and we're always online, and we're always on Zoom and WhatsApp calls and things like that. And one of the things, and I think you'll agree with this, that I miss the most about talking to you is the meeting and getting coffee, ordering pakoras, ordering samosa from somewhere, and just sitting down and then tackling our work, right? Just the meeting and talking and chatting. And it took the pandemic for us to realize how important of a tradition that was for us.
Absolutely. I mean, we are such foodies, both of us, that every time without the food being in the middle, we would never have a meeting. And I think some of the best work that we have done is with maybe a cup of coffee or some samosa or something on our side. So that is our tradition as the founders of the Confident Communicator. And I'd like to pose this question for all of our viewers. Please, participate in this and post as many traditions as you can. What family tradition do you practice that goes beyond festivals? And we'd love to hear even your festival traditions. Maybe it's a little different from what other people do. Like the one where you have a modak as well as a cookie. Maybe that's your tradition. Sure. Talk about it. Let's make those connections and give ideas to others so that we can all bond together as families and friends. And of course, from the Confident Communicator, we would like to wish all our viewers a very meaningful, mindful, and a well-connected festival season that's coming up soon. We would like to plug in some of our products because we talked about them. One, of course, is the conversation cards. It's available on our website. and 2 new products that we have come up with. And again, they came from the idea of making that connection, which is the Magic Mantra set. It's a set of 2 cards. One is the self-care cards, which Deepa was showing, and the other is the affirmation cards. Quickly, I want to talk about it and why it is important, because I think that the first and the most important connection that you have to make is with yourself. And a very simple example I'd like to give for that is, you go in a flight. Every time you're on a flight, they give you these instructions: wear your seatbelt this way, keep your windows back up, and blah, blah, blah. And in case the oxygen goes down, put on the mask first before you help somebody else. So self-care is so important, and we are going to talk about that a lot over this the rest of this year. And that's why our self-care cards are very critical. Use them to better yourself, connect with yourself, and also the affirmation cards. Now, affirmation cards are very interesting because when you appreciate something, it appreciates. So when you repeat something, it becomes a reality. If you are constantly feeding yourself negativity, that's the flow of your life. But if you want that joyful flow to happen, then you've got to, make affirmations about things that are positive. I'm powerful. I'm strong. Everything is working out for me. I love my life. I have a healthy body. I have a healthy mind. I have abundance in my money. I have lots of success. All of these things are so important, isn't it, Deepa?
Absolutely.
To talk about. And we thought, why don't we just make a product out of it? And therefore, we created the affirmation cards as well as the self-care cards. So you know what? They're on our website. Get them. Absolutely. We would love for you to try them out and tell us what you thought. One additional product that I'd like to talk about, which we absolutely adore, and both Upma and I use this regularly,
all the time,
is our personal almanac or journal called My Life, My Way. Now, everybody says, journals are so common and we can use even apps. Why do I need to use a book? But there is a neurological, scientific reason and research that shows that when you write down your goals, your dreams, your purpose, and your vision for your life and your dreams, and all of those things that you want to make when you want to make a better life, you got to write it down. That's why we've created this. But it's not just an empty journal, not just a calendar. It has exercises inside which will help you make that connection with yourself.
Reconnect.
So let's work on this year. All of these products are available on our website. We call them the wellness products for the moment because we think that everybody should benefit from wellness and take care of their mental health. It has been a tough year for all of us. Absolutely. And before we part, anything you want to say, Deepa?
I don't know if it was serendipity or what, but I picked a self-care card for myself this morning.
Super.
And look what it said.
I
think the universe is telling me that I need to get rid of some old stuff. I'm a hoarder. So, I just keep things. And I think the universe is telling me, hey, declutter.
It's funny the thing about decluttering. It's funny to think about decluttering. I know, this Marie Kondo thing, anything that sparks joy. We're talking about this for the last couple of years, right? Yeah. And I have seen that whenever I declutter, I find that my house, I just feel lighter for some reason. When during festivals, we clean up the house, we do spring cleaning, we remove everything and we donate things to others. And then we feel really good about it, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think that let's get our children involved. In fact, there was one additional question I wanted to ask you. How do we help our children participate in this, in creating these traditions? It's not something that just parents have to do, but it has to be a family affair, isn't it?
Correct. I think, like we said earlier, right, we've got to keep an open mind. So like the Ganpati tradition, I had to kind of open my mind. It was a little hard, but I had to open my mind to cookies and fruit custards and, Western prasads, because like my daughter said, it was Ganpati's birthday. And so,
that's what we do on birthdays. We have cake and cookies. Yes.
Ganpati wanted Western prasad. And so that's what he got, So you have to open your mind. And I think the other thing is kind of trying to make it fun and trying to make it about you. The minute you try to follow rules, right, it becomes one of those eye-rolling, I don't want to partake in this battle between, either mother and, parents and children or grandparents and children. And it's all this unnecessary stress. And festivals are supposed to be about bliss,
fun and connections. Yeah.
joy and fun and family. So
Very
then why
valid.
not make it, why not make the children, pick up tradition? And in our classes, our children pick out such beautiful family traditions when we show them that conversation card where we say, which family tradition do you want to start? And they give us such beautiful ideas that parents, go ahead and ask your
Yes,
kid.
involve
And
them.
then that
Involve
way
them
you
as part of the
buy-in.
tradition. Yes,
Yes.
involve them as part of the tradition so that they are very vested in it, and you will
Yes.
see that positivity inside the family. All those battles they'll forget when those traditions come back. Even your grudging teenager will participate. Trust me. Even your grudging teenager will participate because
True.
traditions make children feel safe, secure, loved, and connected. And on that note, again, I'd like to say thank you so much for being part of this conversation, Deepma, as usual, and of course, our viewers. And we will see you again next Wednesday for yet another series of Imperfect Parenting. Thank you and have a great festival year this year.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.